the huge news. It looked very much like all of Daniel Levy's chickens were coming home to roost. Tottenham spent this weekend as more of a laughingstock than I can remember, player after player rejecting Tottenham Hotspur. They seem to be seeing what we're seeing in terms of the ownership of the club and how it's affecting what goes on the pitch. However, at 2 p.m. today, just half an hour ago or so, Matias Tel may well have single-handedly saved Daniel Levy from riots along the Tottenham High Road. I'll be discussing this huge U-turn and all of the rest of today's deadline day news on this episode of Live Transfer Deadline Day News. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. What a morning it has been. And of course, if you're not already across it, Matias Tel has pulled one of the biggest U-turns, certainly in Tottenham transfer history, maybe in Premier League transfer history, by agreeing to join Spurs today, despite the fact that there was interest from Manchester United, there was interest from Arsenal, just interest everywhere, and the fact that on Friday he was saying he does not want to come to Tottenham Hotspur. But all the reports are that Tottenham's big Ange Postecoglou has worked his telephone magic once again. He had a long conversation with Tel to present his ideas and how he's going to use them, and apparently Tel changed his mind after that conversation and has decided to join Spurs. And it's all very reputable sources. Plettigol started it, Sky Sports in Germany, and then Fabrizio Romano on the bandwagon as well. Apparently, the first reports coming out after his transfer U-turn was that it would be on a loan-only basis. However, some reports coming out now as well from other reputable sources that actually the previously agreed 60 million euro transfer with Bayern Munich that was agreed last Thursday could still be an option. It will be up to the player when he gets to Spurs to decide if he wants to agree to that or to a loan. So I don't know. I'm being asked in the comments here because this is a live edition of the episode. You know, am I sure? Charladino saying, are you really sure Tel is that good? I think the reality is that at this point, he is a very exciting, young, raw talent, highly thought of by Bayern Munich, and he really fits the transfer strategy. And clearly, Ange has had a word with him and said, listen, you can be one of our main men. You can be one of the players that everything goes through on the pitch, and you can be a mainstay in this front line because he's versatile. He can play left, he can play 9, and he can play on the right. And obviously, we've got players coming back from injury, Brennan Johnson, etc. Sonny needs his minutes managed, but I think potentially Tel could be one of the first names of the team sheet, and especially in the next month or so, whilst Solanke is still out. For me, I think one of the main positives of this is just, I don't know how you felt, let me know in the comments, but over the weekend I just felt so low because Tottenham once again kind of proving themselves to be like a laughing stock in terms of other clubs' fans, in terms of us kind of loudly saying we're going for these big name players and then it not coming off. And actually now it looks like it is going to come off. And that is what kind of excites me as much as the player's talent itself. Clearly, he's a talented player. As far as I'm concerned, in terms of Ange Postecoglou and Johan Lang and the players we brought in under them, I've rated all of them in terms of their ability to play Ange's system, maybe with a little caveat about Radu Dragusin. He's the only one I have a little caveat about. But Tel, clearly an exciting raw player. I've been saying it in my videos all last week. I wonder if Agent Harry Kane can get involved. And maybe Agent Harry Kane did get involved this morning at training or something, or yesterday, because Tel wasn't in the squad for the Bayern Munich game at the weekend. And maybe that's given him another thing to think about as well. And then obviously, got to be realistic. Maybe he was hoping. There were reports saying he wanted to go to Man United. Maybe the reality is he was waiting for Manchester United's call. And the offer that United put into Bayern Munich, if they did indeed make an offer, wasn't acceptable to Bayern Munich, and therefore they're off the table. Maybe he hoped Arsenal would come in, but they're off the table. So he's coming to Spurs. And I think, listen, with a huge week ahead, and after such a good start to this kind of 10-day period, beating Elfsborg, and then yesterday, such an amazing backs-to-the-wall performance against Brentford, going into that League Cup semi-final on Thursday, away to Liverpool, with some momentum and the excitement that a new signing like this, and obviously let's not forget about Kevin Danso as well. Neither of them will be available for that second leg, by the way, because from what I've read, to be available for either game, you need to have been signed before the first leg. But the momentum that new signings can bring, that's the thing. New signings can bring momentum and can add excitement to the squad. So I just think these things, I'm really hopeful that these things can all add together to maybe give us one of our great nights this coming Thursday. Listen, guys, I've got 230 of you on here now. Thank you so much for watching, for your support. Please do press that like button. The more likes we get, the more the more subscribers we'll get, and therefore also the more people will see this video, more Spurs fans, and hopefully can get involved in this. I'll go into the comments a little bit at the moment. Also, I'm less than 1,000 subs away from 15,000. So if you like transfer content, always starting with Tottenham, and you like Tottenham news, you're a Spurs fan, please do press subscribe to be a regular on my channel. Also, Tottenham, reportedly, this is according to Daniel Kilpatrick, still in the market for attacking additions. This was earlier today, but have currently cooled their interest slightly in Tyler Dibbling, who we have been talking about all month, because Southampton asked for excess of £55 million to get Tyler Dibbling through the door. And that's why some of these other reports before this Tel news came out, that we asked to be informed on the situation of Leon Bailey as well. Obviously, the other huge news, though, that came out this morning is that over the weekend, we put a big bid of up to £70 million for Mark Guehi, Crystal Palace's captain and England's centre-back mainstay. He is a great player. Newcastle were in for him over and over again during the summer, weren't they? But didn't get their man. And then Tottenham have come in late. And now what's interesting about this signing is that Mark Guehi's his contract runs out in 18 months' time. So for Palace to turn down up to £70 million, for him, with only 18 months on his contract, with him into his kind of mid to late 20s as well. Very brave of Palace, but I guess they've looked at it and said, realistically, we need Mark Guehi to get us as far up the Premier League table as we possibly can. We are not going to be able to replace him between this weekend and the transfer deadline. And although that's great money, the money that we will receive from higher placings in the Premier League may be worth just as much. So I don't know. I have to say, this morning when I was feeling pretty depressed about everything in terms of Spurs' signings and how everyone was taking the piss out of us and how I felt like we were basically a laughing stock, I just thought that Guehi news was probably a leak coming out through the club to try and show the fans that we're going for big names. But actually, now that looks like we've got Tel over the line and actually things feel a bit more positive, I'm like, I am actually quite excited that they really went hard for that. But, maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. I don't know. I really don't know. Some other news coming out today. Angel Gomez is going to stay at Lille for the rest of the season, but definitely leave the club on a free transfer in the summer. And he's a player that Tottenham were definitely interested in and may look to get in the summer. Now, Spurs will not be pursuing Axel Disasi anymore. So it wouldn't surprise me if maybe another kind of move from a left field might come out during the rest of the day. The transfer deadline is, of course, at 11 o'clock p.m. tonight. Tottenham desperate to get another centre-back in because obviously Kevin Danso came in, and that's good news. But Dragoshin's injury is thought to be worse than at first feared. So let's see what happens. Tim Spurrier in the comments says, now this is turning into an interesting transfer window. Absolutely. What else have we got here? Rakesh Tiwari, Tel hurt Levy's ego. He was never going to stay calm after that, hence he's growing wild. Yeah, hopefully. I hope that you're right. Let's bring some more in. Maria says, he said he wants to be a Bayern legend, but if he performs well in the Premier, we win something, I think it'll be a permanent signing. Yeah, well, like I said, the initial reports when this news came out was that it's definitely only an initial loan, and maybe that's the case. But also I'm seeing some other reputable reports saying that there is the possibility that maybe, just maybe, a permanent deal could be done. But yeah, like happens quite a lot in these deals. If you get a loan signing over the line and then the player really does well in that loan signing and starts to feel some connection with the club, some connection with the fan base, then very often those loan deals do become permanent deals after the end of that loan. And clearly Tottenham and Bayern Munich have a really good relationship. And I think Bayern Munich, and I was saying this yesterday, I didn't do a video yesterday, but I was saying this yesterday. I think Bayern Munich will have been pushing incredibly hard to get Tel to choose Tottenham because of the money that Bayern still owe Tottenham for Harry Kane. Sorry, not Daniel Levy, for Harry Kane. And therefore, even if this does end up being a loan for the first 6 months, I still feel strongly that Bayern Munich will be very keen for Tel to join Spurs in the long term so that they can not have to pay some of the added extras for the Harry Kane deal. Joshua Jimenez says, just curious, have you talked about Kevin Danso yet? No, I haven't, but I will now. I saw obviously what Ange Postecoglou said the following after Kevin Danso arrived. He said, "It's brilliant. I think Kevin will be a great fit for us. We've been short at the back for a while. He's experienced, a good one-on-one defender. Again, I've said getting new players in gives us energy." And then there was a really good analysis article that I read in Sky Sports that I think is worth bringing you because it brings some interesting takes from Kevin Danso himself and also some thoughts on his career. Kevin Danso said the following when he was asked about his career. He said, "I knew moving here to Germany," this is when he was in Germany, because he started in the MK Dons academy, and then I think he had some time at Reading, but he moved to Germany as a 15-year-old. So he said this: "I knew moving here to Germany would put me out of my comfort zone, but I really wanted to make it, and I understood that at a young age." He said this back in 2018 to Sky Sports. The defender, born in Austria to Ghanaian parents, but brought up in England, was 19 at the time, reflecting on his decision to swap the MK Dons academy for that of German club Augsburg at the age of 15. It was a step into the unknown. He said the first 3 years were mentally very tough, but Danso felt Germany offered a clearer senior pathway, and his boldness paid off. By 19, he was playing regularly in the Bundesliga and the Austrian national team. Danso, it says, the article goes on, would be tested mentally again following an unsuccessful loan spell in the Premier League with Southampton in 2019-20, after which he stepped down to the German second tier with Fortuna Düsseldorf. Well, I called a friend of mine who's a big fan of Southampton and asked him about his memories of Danso, and he said actually he didn't get any game time whatsoever. So on that basis, he wasn't nearly as bad as some of the defenders they did play with at that point. Danso made the move from Germany to France in 2021, where he excelled with Lens, rebuilding his reputation and earning another chance now in the Premier League with Spurs. Still only 26, his career so far is a lesson in the importance of perseverance and determination. They are qualities needed at his new club. Maria says in the comments, "I think Romero leaves this summer." I assume you're basing that on the fact that we've obviously bought Danso and we were interested in Guehi and we're looking at another centre half. I think it's possible, but I think more importantly right now, we need Christian Romero to get back on the pitch. Obviously, he's had a long rest. I know he'll have had to be doing a lot of physiotherapy, but he will have had a long rest, and hopefully that will mean some of those lapses in concentration that he had at the beginning of the season won't be there. And if we can get Romero back sometime in the next month or next few weeks, and we're still in at least 2, maybe all 3 of those cup competitions, then with Romero's record of having won the World Cup, won the Copa America, if we get him to the latter stages of tournaments, maybe we can win something. Listen, this is a very exciting time for Spurs. I really love how we just, in that game against Brentford yesterday, how we just showed that utter determination. And anyone who sees me doing watch-alongs live will see how I felt all season, and maybe a bit longer, even, after that Chelsea game last season. Tottenham have always stuttered when facing adversity. But yesterday I felt we faced real adversity, especially in the first 15, 20 minutes of that second half. And they really went backs to the wall and they really worked their nuts off. And it was a brilliant performance. And that, I think, really puts us in good stead for the rest of the season. Now, add a couple of signings that excite the fan base, that excite the squad to that. Maybe find us a way to get through that Liverpool game on Thursday. And then maybe we can just think about the rest of this season as something really exciting. David Turner in the comments says, "I want to see the positive sign of this, but I just wonder why he changed his mind. Of course, if he bangs in a few hat-tricks, I probably won't care." Well, I said it at the beginning of this live show, David, and thank you so much for your comment. I think the reality is based on lots of different things. I think Bayern have been pushing really hard for him to join Spurs. I think he got on a phone call with Ange Postecoglou, who probably told him how important he's going to be for this club and how he'll be the number one name in that forward line, probably, especially whilst we're managing minutes for Sonny. And I think probably realistically, the deals for Man United or Arsenal or any other interested clubs probably didn't come to fruition. And then probably the main part was that he wasn't in the squad, not just the team, he wasn't in the squad for Bayern Munich's game at the weekend. And that will have made him think, okay, this is serious. Limpy Down Under says he always liked Spurs, but he wanted to stay at Bayern. Spurs wanted him permanently. Now with no obligation, he's happy to join us. And Ria says it would have been a stupid decision to stay at Bayern as he would rarely get sniffs. So look, it's probably just, as happens with a lot of the time, just a mix of a number of different things. But I think more importantly, guys, let me know in the comments, how do you think about him as a player and how he can fit into Spurs' system? One thing I do have to say, And this was something I was kind of clutching hold of when it looked like he was going to go to Man United instead of Spurs. He has not played a lot of senior football, Matias Tel. Or Mathys Tel, sorry. I know I keep getting his pronunciation wrong, but I'll get used to it. Although I'm still calling Lucas Bergvall, and apparently it's Lucas Berryvall or Berryall. Anyway, whatever. But Matias Tel has not played a lot of senior football. In fact, I think he's only started 8 senior games for Bayern Munich. Certainly maybe only 8 senior games in the Bundesliga in terms of starting. That might just be this season. But anyway, he's not started a lot of senior football. So for 50, 60 million euros, it's a big ask. But if we're getting him in with a loan and no obligation, then maybe that's something exciting that we can check him out first. But then what you're really setting yourself up for potentially is the possibility that you get him in, he does incredibly well, and then other clubs properly sniff around him in the summer, clubs maybe he'd rather go to. But I think it's a little bit of a no-lose gamble. Imagine this is like a best-case scenario. He hits the ground running, and then we go on a proper deep run into the Europa League. And maybe, imagine we get to a final. He's in the final. We win the Europa League. I know there's a little pie in the sky, but stay with me. We win it, and then we're in the Champions League next season, and then we can buy him on a permanent. So that's the best-case scenario, realistically, isn't it? And for me, I think there's no doubt he's a talented player. He brings some pace to us. We are quite one pace going forward. And whilst we wait for Wilson Odobert to come back, we have just been a little bit static in our forward line. Brennan Johnson is quick, but he's not acceleration quick. He's quick when he's up to speed. He's only really quick when the ball is in front of him, actually, and to run onto. So he adds a little bit of pace. He adds some power. He's a strong runner. And obviously he's been playing and training with some of the best players in the world over the last few years at Bayern Munich. So on that basis, I think it's an exciting move. And yeah, if as a lot of you are saying, it will definitely be a loan with no obligation, which seems to be Tel's preference at the moment, then that also seems like a bit of a no-lose gamble for Spurs as well. Of course, earlier this weekend, and on Friday, there were some other kind of mad reports that Tottenham were also asking Chelsea about João Felix. But it looks like Aston Villa are most likely to try and get him if an English club's going to get João Felix. But Milan also desperately trying to sign him as well. Apparently, Spurs also made an inquiry for Alejandro Garnacho, although he seems to be back in Ruben Amorim's good books. Obviously, late last week, Friday, Spurs agreed a deal for Fikayo Tomori from Milan. And I was wondering on Friday, why is Tomori looking to leave Milan? But he's not been getting a lot of game time. And then Tomori apparently said no. So, like I said, Spurs will be, I think, for the rest of the day looking for another centre-back. David Blair in the comments says this. He's a great talent, not much experience, Bayern. We're very happy to let him go on a permanent, which always worries me with a player is supposed to be so good. I worry about his attitude. Tim Spurrier, thanks for your comment, mate, says, Julian Laurent says, and spoke with Tel at length earlier today and convinced him to come. Huge role played by the Spurs manager to get one of the most coveted youngsters in Europe. Listen, there's always going to be some, why is he decided to come Spurs when he initially said no? I get that. Of course I do. But things change quickly in football. They really do. And the reality is probably every transfer that happens, they probably would prefer to go somewhere else. And then, you get somewhere and actually maybe it can work out for you and it all comes together. Who knows? But it is exciting for me more than anything that other opposition fans can no longer, at least today, call us the laughingstock that they were over the weekend, whilst everyone was just rejecting Spurs left, right, and centre. So Postecoglou, I've talked to you a little bit more about Danso. Obviously, there's some other, a bit of bad news. Obviously, Radu Dragusin's knee injury, apparently very serious. He's seeing a specialist. Some weird news. Scott Parker, who's now manager of Burnley, has brought in Marcus Edwards, the ex-Tottenham player. What a weird kind of, what a very weird career Marcus Edwards has had, where only a year ago or so, he was playing in the Champions League for Sporting under Amorim and doing really well. And Tottenham fans were all excited because we had a sell-on fee. Well, now he's on loan at Burnley in the Championship with a £10 million obligation if Burnley, I assume it's if Burnley get up. So that's a bit of that'll be an interesting one to see what happens. Guys, let me know in the comments, what centre-backs do you think Tottenham might try and sign towards the end of today? You've got to assume with us having gone for Guehi, we are looking for someone. What I would say, one of the things that I really love about Spurs under Ange, under Scott Munn, under Johan Lange, is that I really fully believe when Ange says, I don't want to just get players in as bodies. I need them to fit the system. I need them to fit the squad. I need them to fit the style of play. So that really gives me great hope that we won't have a Fraser Campbell moment. We won't have a Ryan Nelson moment. If we're going to get a centre-back in today, it'll be someone that has been on the list and that Ange likes, and not somebody who they're just going to call in at the last minute. That's what I really, really hope. Andrew Mason in the comments says, well, Spurs does have a recruitment team after all. Congratulations are in order. Tim Spiro, Barnaby, is Tel the speedster Spurs need? You spoke about needing yesterday. No, like I just said, like I don't know if he's necessarily the kind of Aaron Lennon-esque quick off the mark speedster, but just some pace in that front line is needed at the moment. Sonny obviously used to be incredibly quick, but I think it's fair to say that he's lost a yard of pace in recent years. But just another option with some pace, I think, is important. And listen, I've been calling for a few things. I've been calling for some more physicality in the spine of the team, and I've been calling for some more pace. So I like the fact that it seems at least that is being addressed, because Danso looks like a big physical beast, and obviously Matias Tel is quick. Toby Marks Dunn says, yes, but the deal changed from permanent to loan. That is a fact. The journalists / media / YouTuber created narratives around the deal are not helpful and create division. Listen, Toby, I really appreciate your message. Yeah, listen, we're all giving our thoughts when we're reading the news that we get, basically, but also whilst reading what is given to us by reputable journalists, you're then kind of adding in your own assumptions a lot of the time. In reality, none of us are in those boardrooms. None of us are in those rooms between the player and their agent. And yeah, like you said, maybe it is the fact that the deal has moved to a loan only, but I think realistically, from my point of view, I think Tottenham would have said to him last week, we'll also take you on a loan, but our preference is to take you as a permanent. Who knows? An interesting one from Limpy here. Personally, I don't want Tel. He isn't amazing, but he is a great squad player because he's versatile up front. But we need him through this time. If he fits into the system, things can change. Okay, so you're saying you don't think he's the perfect player for the long term, but right now it could be a good signing and something that works out well for us. Well, that's all. I think that makes sense. I think, best case scenario, he does well for us. And he, like I said earlier, he forms a connection with the club and with the fans. And maybe then he wants to stay long term. Do you know what I'd love to see now with the rest of this deadline day? I'd love us to then also go to get Tyler Dibbling and send him back on loan to Southampton and show the fans that, we are spending money again, and we are willing to show the fans that we're backing Ange and that we're spending money. That would be really exciting. I asked you any centre-backs you'd like to see come in. I can't see any names in the comments yet. Is there anyone you can think of? Oh, Godfrey Drummond says Hato at Ajax. I don't know anything about him. Is he good? Let me know, Godfrey, what he's all about. All I know from Ajax is a mad, I saw an absolutely mad Jordan Henderson interview, where he's basically having a right go at the journalist live, because Jordan Henderson, if you haven't heard, is likely to go to Monaco, which for me I think isn't a great look considering he went to Saudi Arabia to not pay tax. He's now going to go to the only club in Europe where you don't have to pay tax. Stephen Wilson, all we need now is Vlahovic or Gyökeres and we'll be very happy. Yes, dibbling. That would be good. Robert Hardy, how many hours left until deadline? Well, I'm recording this. This is a live show at 10 past 3, so it's 11. So just less than 8 hours left of the transfer window. Well, I can guarantee you guys, there are over 450 watching this now. Thank you so much for your support. Got over 100 likes. If you haven't liked this yet, please do press the like button. Also, guys, I'm less than 1,000 subscribers now, away from 15,000. So if you could press that subscribe button, I'd bring you all the transfer news, always starting with Tottenham during the windows. And of course, regular Tottenham news, views, watch-alongs, etc. So if you like the sound of that, and you want to join an incredibly engaged, near 15,000 community, please do subscribe to this channel. I really appreciate all of your support at the moment. Godfrey says this, Hato's a left-sided centre-back and left-back dual-role footballer. He's on our scouting list. Yeah. Well, listen, I think Johan Lange's scouting list is long, and clearly Mark Guehi was on it because that's someone we went for. I like the fact that we're going for players who are proven, in Guehi's case, proven in the Premier League, proven in international football. I have to say, I think it's very unlikely that we will get Guehi in the summer because you'd think realistically Newcastle would be back in for him. I've also seen reports that Liverpool were in for him. So probably it was a bit of a shot to nothing today, wasn't it, Guehi? Spurs thinking if we put in a bid big enough now, maybe Crystal Palace will be tempted, thinking because they won't get offered that in the summer. They get offered, I think, maximum 50 million, 40 million pounds, maybe even for Guehi in the summer. So it was a bit of a shot to nothing, and I think worth a squirt as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, Hato, that's an interesting one, Godfrey. Thank you so much for sending in your comments. Listen, guys, really enjoyed this quick edition of Daily Premier League Transfer News. What I'll promise you guys is I will do another live episode if any more big excitement comes through Spurs in the rest of today's window. I'm going to stay near my computer and I'll bring you another live edition. But thank you so much. I think it's a very exciting day. Matias Tel looks like he's definitely coming to Tottenham Hotspur. He's had a U-turn. He's going to be a young, exciting forward with pace and the ability to beat a player coming into our forward line. Also not injured at the moment. So that's another positive. And maybe we'll even get in a centre-back today as well after that report that we tried to get Mark Guehi from Crystal Palace, England's Mark Guehi, over the summer. So hopefully Tottenham Hotspur doing some even more business for the rest of this transfer window. And as and when they do, I will come back with another live edition. Thanks a lot. Make sure you give this channel a subscribe if you like transfer news and Tottenham news and views. And maybe I'll speak to you later in the day. Cheers.